I've always thought battle ropes are cool. Firstly, because they're a full body exercise, and as a rule, generally moving your body is generally good for all tissues involved. So you might as well get as many tissues involved as you can. But really, battle ropes are cool because of the leverage. My favorite lever is, obviously, the Type 3, because of the increased control over the load. Then the Type 1 lever is a close second because of the balance. And I wouldn't be caught dead talking about a Type 2 lever. It's because of leverage with the battle ropes that you get to make the best part, the wave. This fairly standard move here with the battle ropes I've always found interesting because it surprisingly creates a decent abdominal contraction. But to do that, we've got to get it set up first. By throwing the ropes up, you create the need to pull them down. The up motion looks very much like an arm movement, and certainly you could just move the arms, but you wouldn't get the big wave from that. To generate the kind of force needed, it's a leg-initiated motion. The legs extend a bit at the start of the movement to do what we call knee and hip extension, created largely by the quadriceps and gluteus maximus muscle. Lesser known for their knee extension is the gastrocnemius and soleus muscles, the calf muscles, as based on their position, when the knee starts in a bend, they can pull the tibia and femur backwards a little. And because those calf muscles are firing, we also get a bit of ankle plantar flexion, which doesn't really plantar flex the ankles significantly, but it does push the toes into the ground. This entire leg action builds a stable base for the whole body to push off of, to create a powerful upward force. Working our way up, the contraction of the gluteus maximus will also help to tilt the pelvis posterior, which will help to posteriorize the trunk through the attached spine. The hamstrings will help with pelvis posteriorization as well, but only so much as to not counteract quadricep knee extension. The hamstrings and quads are antagonists, meaning they can create opposing movements at the same joint or joints. So one muscle set can only contract so hard without stopping the action of the other. In this case, it allows for lengthening enough to prevent the loss of pull on the ischium, a refined activation that only the central nervous system could be capable of. With the base taken care of, we can now move the trunk into position to set up the arms, so we'll create spinal extension through the lumbars and thoracic spine. The neck is certainly involved, but its job is more to balance the head and eye line in a bobbing, tipping the chin action. Keeping it general, to do spinal extension, we use the erector muscles of the spine that in many parts go all the way up and down the spine. With their contraction, and along with the posterior motion of the pelvis, the entire trunk ends up traveling backwards. We'll shrug up the whole arm just a little bit by pulling up with the traps, then flex the shoulder as well as through the elbow, and some radial deviation at the wrist, placing the whole arm and the ropes along with them in the air. All these movements are happening essentially simultaneously, with a slight lag from bottom to top, which in an almost artistic way creates a wave through the body that will continue into the ropes. To get the wave started, we've gone all the way up the back. To get the full wave, we now need to reverse the side of the body that is contracting the muscles and work our way down the front. At the moment the ropes are in the air, you could just let them fall. Let gravity do the work for much less effort. And actually, the legs here largely just guide a downward fall of the body above them back to the starting point. Just relaxing your legs can be enough to generate some downward pull. But we don't do that with the upper body. We rapidly and forcefully pull the ropes down. Because the ropes are now traveling upward, when we bring the arms down forcefully, we're competing against the upward force we just created. To pull the arm down, we reverse what we did previously, so simultaneously we're doing shoulder extension, elbow extension, and wrist ulnar deviation. Through muscles, the arms attach to the thorax, and so, to pull the arms down with maximal force, we also pull the thorax down. And this is where the ab muscles kick in, which is cool because it's not obvious, typically, that the abs are having any contribution to an action like this. To be completely accurate, there's a slight lag between the abs and the arms. The arms are reaching max height as the abs are already starting to pull down. This creates a bit of a whip action, not unlike snapping a towel, drastically increasing power. You can definitely say that the abs have a few different directions: rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, internal and external obliques. But when they contract in unison, we can say that they create a downward pull on the thorax, and flex the spine. Though it was stated previously that the legs are relaxing, they are still guiding the motion of the body. Relaxation is relative, and so another way of saying it is that we are reducing tone of the leg muscles that were previously contracted enough to allow for descent, but only enough to return to the start position, not so much that we collapse to the ground. It's at this point, with the pelvis essentially falling down, where the latissimus dorsi muscle can be most effectively engaged. The lats are an interesting muscle because they go from the pelvis and lumbar spine all the way up to the inside of the humerus. So with the arms up high and externally rotated enough to matter, the lats are significantly pre-stretched and can contract rapidly and forcefully, while at the same time being dragged down by the pelvis. One last little thing. On the way down, it's worth noting that there's often some extra adductor muscle contraction to bring the legs in against the ground. This helps to create some grip and support. That was a lot of words to talk about a simple, satisfying thing, but totally worth it. As always, thanks to Phase 6 for the inspiration and getting out there in that hot sun.